Well, hey there. I want to welcome a very special guest to Real Life in Real Estate today. It is Zach Hyre from the Z&T Agency, also the host of the Blueprint podcast. Welcome to the show, Zach.
Mark, it's a pleasure.
It is a pleasure.
It's a pleasure.
Now, I'm going to give a little backstory before we fully go into this, and I want to hear more about the Z&T Agency and how you guys are doing. But when Zach started his temporary actual licensed real estate career, he actually worked on my team, and we became great friends. And he reminds me a lot of myself when I was young, because you're much younger than I am. But Zach has gone on, worked in, you worked in real estate, doing a lot with a big investment firm, right?
Yep, a REIT.
Yep. And then you launched the Z&T Agency.
Well, I want to give credit where credit's due. It started with my wife.
Okay, that's good.
I jumped in.
You're a smart man.
Yeah. And helped expand it to taking it to the agency.
Okay, so talk to me about the agency and what you guys do.
Certainly. So it actually all started with my wife. And she really wanted to do social media management. That's what she wanted to do. And I said, well, if you go out and find a client that'll pay you X amount of dollars, you can leave your job and we'll go, you can do it. We'll go, I fully support you. So if you know anything about my wife, she is not one to go door knock, cold call, etc. She was making cold calls and all this kind of stuff.
Motivation.
Yeah, motivation. And I'm telling her, because I had worked in sales, right? I was like, listen, babe, you're going to have to call 100 people. You're going to get people screaming at you, telling them to leave you alone, etc. She made 4 phone calls. Every single phone call, somebody was interested.
Oh, wow.
Every single one. And then she landed a client.
That's awesome.
Crazy.
So now then you're into the Z&T Agency, and tell me about what you guys do.
Yeah. So from there, I left the REIT that I was working at, the Investment Real Estate Trust, and saw so much opportunity. So I jumped in and said, hey, let me go all in with you. Let's create an agency and take it from there. So I jumped in August of 23 and went all in. And at the core of what we do is essentially that social media management, right? So running social media for small to mid-sized businesses. And then that was the core of what we did. But then we were like, hey, there's just so many opportunities, so many branches within this space that just kind of makes sense, right? So our next step was, hey, people were asking us about websites, logos. And so I was thinking, man, what can we do? And sure enough, Tawny's cousin, who lives in Houston, had his own graphic design business.
That's awesome.
So I made a phone call to him and I said, hey, man, here's where we're at. Here's what we're looking to do. Here's what we would need. Could you help us out? He's like, dude, that would be awesome. That would help me out so much, etc. So he is extremely good at what he does. So he has had clients. So if anyone's familiar with Sour Strips, it's the #1 selling candy in Target.
Right.
He did their packaging. Anabar, which is in Vitamin Shop, GNC, he did their stuff as well. And then even had stuff displayed in Times Square in New York City. So
that's awesome.
So he does essentially anything graphic design, but predominantly anything with websites, logo packages, design, etc. He does all that. And then from there, we were kind of going through and thinking, what would be another good addition that complements very well? Well, content. Professional photography, videography. So we went out, somebody here local, and she is a part of the agency as well. And she's our professional content getter. The content getter. that doesn't sound horrible.
I love it.
But so she can do all the videos that you see on Instagram, in even as simple as just headshots, etc. So she can do all that stuff as well. So that's kind of where we are. So at the core, social media management, branch of graphic design, branch of professional content, videography, photography. So
I love this because it's social media, it's branding, it's content. And guess what? That's exactly what we need to talk about today. And so one of the reasons I wanted to have you on is because I think social media gets to be very confusing.
It can be.
You have Facebook for an old schooler like me, and Instagram and TikTok and X and I lump YouTube into that social media category. I feel like, LinkedIn. I mean,
another one.
like you have so many. It's like, where do I focus? What do I do? And so what I'd like to do today is say, okay, Zach, I want to build a better social media presence that will actually drive real estate business my direction. And really, we're helping our audience here. How do we do it? Where do we even start?
Yeah, it can be incredibly intimidating.
Well, talk to me about platforms. Like, I just named off, 6 or 7 platforms. Do I need to be posting on every platform? And what do I do?
So I think a good place to start is start with the platforms that you're most comfortable with, that you consume content. You know how it works, right? So for us with the agency, we predominantly specialize in 3: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. That's what we know. That's what we operate.
Okay.
So I think I can give insights on that with some insight to some of the other platforms. But I think a good starting point is, where do you, the consumer, go to get your content? Are you going to Instagram? Are you going to X? Are you going to you? Where are you going? Because then you're most comfortable. You know how creators are creating content. You know the ebbs and flows and the frameworks of how the app itself works.
Right.
You have a better understanding. So I think that that's a good starting point. But for us specifically, we're TikTok, Instagram, Facebook.
Okay, so if I'm a real estate agent, I do sell real estate still, right?
Yeah, you do.
But also own a company, and I want to help our agents. I want to help all of the agents that listen to this show be better on social media. So let's start with your expertise. Why would I want to be on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook?
So I think that there's all of them are not created equally.
Okay.
I think that you can leverage certain platforms to do certain things.
Okay.
What do I mean by that? So, for example, TikTok, it is much better for exposure and for building a following.
Okay, why better for exposure on TikTok?
Yes. So the algorithm, the way that it's set up, when you post a video, it is first kicking that out to non-followers, a cold audience, people that don't know you.
Okay.
If it performs well, it continues to propel that to a more cold audience. And obviously your following is sprinkled in there too, but it's predominantly shoving to a cold audience. So that is great for exposure.
Okay.
Because where Instagram, it is pushing it to your followers first.
Okay.
Then if it performs, then it's pushing to a cold audience.
Okay.
So TikTok is a much better for gaining traction, getting exposure, and building a following a lot quicker. And then you can utilize that to then drive traffic to Instagram. And we think that Instagram is a much better platform for nurturing.
Okay, so how do I drive that traffic? So I'm getting some following on TikTok. How do I drive that traffic over to my Instagram page?
So let me kind of back up and explain a little bit more in depth, so that way I can relate more to your question directly.
Okay.
But when you're creating content on TikTok and it's pushing it out, right? What if you're doing your job of educating, entertaining, inspiring, and people are engaging in the value that you're creating on TikTok? They're going to see your video and they're going to say, I want to see more. So naturally, they're going to go to your homepage, see all the other videos that you've created, start going through that and be like, oh, I kind of like this person. I kind of like what they're putting out. I'm getting a lot of value from it. I'm liking it. I'm saving it. I'm sharing it, etc. And from there, you're starting to build the trust with these people. They might even follow you. And when they're on your homepage and going through and seeing all the different videos and the value that you're providing, what you can do is within your TikTok bio, you can actually directly link your Instagram.
Okay.
So your Instagram handle. So it immediately can shove there. So what I see, and I can speak for myself when I am going through that process and I see the value that's being provided on TikTok, I'm saying, well, what did they have to offer on Instagram? Oh, it's conveniently located right there in your bio. Click.
Can you link your Facebook to that too?
Just Instagram.
Okay.
It's Instagram and YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Instagram and YouTube.
So actually, TikTok, if someone does want to drive traffic to YouTube, it might actually also work for YouTube. I know we're
100%.
not going to 100% go into YouTube today, but so it could work for YouTube as well.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
And these are all, when we're on TikTok, it's all video, right? So we need to be creating quality video content.
Yeah.
And that video content, then we want to drive those who are following us, those who are checking us out on TikTok to our Instagram page.
Yes.
Okay, so what's happening on Instagram?
Instagram, so like I had mentioned, it's not as good, and I say this comparatively speaking, because I don't want to say that you can't grow and stuff on Instagram. You absolutely can, but it's just the algorithm is not as situated as it is on TikTok for that. But on Instagram, it is significantly better than TikTok for nurturing an audience.
Okay.
For building loyalty, building trust, and ultimately, I don't want to use the term sell, but essentially just providing the product or service in the real estate space, the service that you provide, and Instagram's a great platform for nurturing. So why is that? A while ago, I was like, well, why is Instagram so much better for nurturing? It's the platform has so many more features conducive for that. So there's stories, right? A lot more engaging and interactive with your following via stories. There's even a thing called like close friends on Instagram where you can hand select certain people to where, hey, I want this content to go to this exclusive group of people.
Really?
Yes.
So can you create multiple groups or just one group, one close friends group?
I believe it's one close friends group.
Interesting.
And what differentiates it from normal stories is normal stories has that like purple and yellow normal Instagram color ring around it. Right. Your close friends has a green ring.
Okay.
So you know that you're a part of that person's close friends.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, just psychology 101.
Right.
When you see that, it's like, oh,
I better check that out.
I made the cut.
I'm in the exclusive group.
I am. Check that out. Right?
Actually, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's one thing. People are just a lot more engaging and responsive within Instagram. So with comments and DMs and all that kind of stuff. I don't know why. People are just naturally more responsive. Maybe because they see that it converts a lot better. So that's another thing that is very huge. And then, like I said, your content's getting pushed out to those followers first.
Okay.
So there's a lot.
So on Instagram though, if I let's just say I post a reel to Instagram, it goes out to my followers first, but then does it go to people beyond?
Yeah,
that are following me
if it performs.
Okay,
if it performs.
Okay, so if my followers take the time, watch the content, then it's going to be pushed out to the greater audience.
Correct.
So I mean, it really speaks to the fact that you've got to build great content,
and that's the key to everything.
Which honestly. So as we were starting to talk about this pre-show, I was like, this is going to be a 2-episoder. So we're going to split this into 2 episodes. And next episode, I want to talk a little bit more about content specifically. But if I'm understanding right, I want to use TikTok just to gain exposure. Okay. I'm using my Instagram to nurture people that already know me or follow me. Where does Facebook come into this?
So Facebook, from our perspective, and let me just make the disclaimer. So the things that I'm saying, this is from our experience, from people that smarter than us, what we've learned from them. This is generally speaking. There's caveats.
There's not people smarter than them. I mean, he's just being, humble.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Just want to say these are blanket statements. There's exceptions and caveats.
Okay.
But so I just throw that out there. But for us, what we're seeing is Facebook. I mean, you can use it however you see fit, and maybe your specific niche target demographic is on Facebook, and in that case, cool. But why we lump in Instagram and Facebook is because they are owned by the same company.
Okay.
They're owned by Meta.
Right.
So Facebook essentially acquired Instagram, I don't know how many years ago, but it makes it seamless and extremely easy to post content on both platforms.
Okay.
Because within Instagram in your account management, you can literally link your Facebook account. And I believe that it has to be business account. So like you have to be a business account on Instagram. Link it to your Facebook account, and then everything can be done in Instagram. When you post a reel, when you post a post, when all stories, it automatically posts to Facebook.
Okay.
So it is no extra steps to post that content on Facebook. So that's one of the reasons why.
Okay.
Why we,
So you're for the time that you spend, you double your reach.
Exactly.
Or you can double your reach. Okay.
Exactly. Yep.
So with these 3 platforms, in terms of, you know, I'm pushing content out. Is it something where, how am I trying to ask this? We might need to edit this part because I had a great question that just disappeared. That's what ADD does for me.
I relate.
So, well, shoot. This we are gonna have to cut this and come back in. What was the question that I had? I had one that was like,
Was it on Facebook?
oh, I think it was. Okay, so we're gonna cut in right here. So with these 3 platforms, how often should we be posting as agents?
That's a great question. So I think it really comes down to what is your end goal? What is your objective? Because I think that could mean significantly different things. And it's not going to sound significant, but the actual work that's put in is pretty significant. So if you are a real estate agent and you essentially just want to let people know that you're alive and that you sell real estate, I think at minimum, you need to post 3 to 4 days a week.
Okay.
And you need to be active on stories every day.
Okay.
Now, if you want to go all in,
Are there stories on TikTok, or is this just a?
there are, but I mean, I don't know how many people. They're not nearly as good as Instagram.
Okay.
Instagram stories are so much better than
Okay.
TikTok stories. When I'm on TikTok, I never even look at my TikTok stories.
Okay.
Ever.
Okay.
So that's one thing. So if you just want to basically let people know that you're alive and you sell real estate, minimum 3 to 4 days a week, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Now, if you're trying to dig your heels in and you're like, hey, I want to build a personal brand, I want to grow a following, and I really want to make some serious income, but also like have social media as a great source of lead generation and lead flow, I think that you need to be posting every single day, and on TikTok, maybe multiple times a day.
Now, should they all be business posts? Like, for years we've talked about how many business posts versus like pictures of my family or, vacation stuff. Like, how do we know the balance?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think times are changing. And from what we're seeing, it used to be keep business and personal separate, like just have them completely separated. I think the days of that are gone. I think that people love to see your personal life mixed in with your business. And what are you doing on a daily basis, right? What is the day in the life of a real estate agent in Dayton, Ohio? What does that look like, right? So mixing in personal with business, I think that is almost non-negotiable now.
Okay.
I think that it's definitely so. You got to remember at the core, you're a business,
Yep,
right? And your main objective is to create content to provide value in a business sense.
Okay.
So that needs to be the forefront of what's leading you, but people love to see the personal as well.
Okay. So with that, we talk business versus personal in terms of our pages, right? So, like for example, I've been on Facebook the most, right? Yeah. So I have a business Facebook page for my real estate team, and then I have a personal Facebook page. What I've done in the past is I'll post something on my business page, share it on my personal page.
Yeah.
how is that all working? Like, how does that work with TikTok? How does that work with Instagram? How should it work? What should we be thinking there?
Yeah, great question. So TikTok and Instagram are going to be different than Facebook in that sense, because like you said, you have a fully different business page for Facebook, and then a different business or a personal page for Facebook. With Instagram, you can all within your same page. You can either basically categorize it as a personal page, or you can go through the steps to transform your same page into a business page.
Okay.
And I personally recommend always convert that to a business page in Instagram and in TikTok. The reason being is that allows you to get insights and analytics.
Okay.
So you don't get that if you're a like a personal account, but with
one of the things that, like, okay, so my mind starts working here. Like, one of the things in the state of Ohio, if you're a realtor, and we have listeners from across the country in the show. So in the state of Ohio, though, I have to have, Mark Peebles, if it's a business page, Mark Peebles, Navex Realty on there, right? So yes, it's better for the analytics there, but how does that work? Do I need to switch everything over to that business page? Do I need to make just a, Mark Peebles business page where every time I post something that is business related content that I have my logos in it? How would I stay compliant on that? And maybe you're not the right person to ask.
Yeah, that's maybe I'm not the right person to ask in terms of compliance. But from kind of what I'm hearing, and I'm gonna answer the question with a question.
Yeah.
Can you, in your bio, put in Mark Peebles, Navex Realty with your brokerage, all that kind of stuff, stay compliant, and then with your post, do you need to have like the logos?
You got to have a fair housing logo, a realtor logo. Yeah, and that is a good question. And my opinion would be that, and this is strictly opinion, please check your own state laws as a disclaimer. But my opinion would be, yes, you should have that in your bio. You should have those logos. And if it's business related content, you need to have your brokerage, somewhere within that business content. And that's something, what's that?
Even if it's just general content?
I think if it's business related content, I would recommend that. But you know what? It's a great question that one of the things I like to do is I'll go to our attorneys and I'll say, hey, what do we do about this?
Sure.
And they usually can provide the answer pretty easily just to make sure that we stay compliant. So I'll check on the compliance on that. I know there's been a lot of buzz around social media in our industry, though.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. I think this is great. I think learning TikTok with Instagram, automatically posting to Facebook, double the results for the amount of time. I know there's still a big audience. In fact, I was telling you before the show, 2024 data, the average first-time home buyer is 38 years old in the United States.
That's crazy.
That is absolutely crazy. How old are you?
I'm 27.
And you own your first home. How many years ago did you buy that?
About a year and a half ago.
Okay, so how old were you? 25?
25.
Yeah, 25. I bought my first home right out of college at 21. Now, my dad had been in real estate my whole life, and I'd been well prepared for that. But the thing is, to think that people are waiting until they're 38 years old to buy a home,
that's crazy,
is unfathomable to me. And so I think because of the older home buying, home selling population, I think there's actually still some place for Facebook in there because you have an older audience there. My kids make fun of me for still being on Facebook, but that's okay. That's okay. Okay, so here's what I want to do. I think I want to kind of pull this down to a close for today because I think this is great. Yeah. I want to come back and do a second episode and talk about actual content because you mentioned stories. We've talked video. I want to know what content should I be doing to get the most engagement online. Yeah. So that's what we're going to do in next week's episode. Join us back here on Real Life and Real Estate. Thanks for being with us today.